Most organizations send an annual employee engagement survey, wait 4 to 6 months for results to roll in, and then spend the next quarter debating about what to do about it. By the time feedback can be addressed, the people who flagged issues have either disengaged further or left. What would it look like if your internal communications operated the way your operations do? Real-time signals, better feedback loops, and fewer missed handoffs. Today, we're going to talk about 3 keys to get better, more timely, and more actionable feedback from your most valuable asset, your team. Hi, I'm Penny Cook, a fractional COO and strategic operations consultant, helping product and consumer brands install, upgrade, and run scalable operations and operational systems that reflect the founder's unique vision and ambition.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wilson, a fractional COO and turnaround partner for founder-led SMB. I work with founders to unlock the ability to scale using the great teams and tools they already have. I work with founders to install structure and repeatable processes. Let's get into it. I think it's really important to address the feedback that we get from our teams in the right way. And that brings us to what the core of the issue is the annual survey itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that leaders care about the employee experience. We know that that's top of mind for most leaders out there. That said, the way we structured the surveys themselves tells a little bit of a different story. One survey per year takes a long time to get the results together. And then we have a town hall to share the findings. And then what's done about it? The cycle itself repeats. Annual surveys were very well designed for HR reporting, but not necessarily so for operational decision making. They measure sentiment at a point in time, and they never really extract the full picture of how people are feeling. So the length of time in between when something happens and when you get feedback is critical. And it's most important that you do something about that feedback that you get in a timely manner. And that is totally out of sync with what and how we're measuring these surveys today. So this puts the structure of your organizational communication out of sync and out of pace with your operations. Penny, I'm wondering, have you seen this in your practice or businesses that you've worked with?
Absolutely, Sarah. We've all seen it, right? And it's true that the standard practice is annual. And a year is a very long time, especially in a growing business. Your company may not resemble anything like what you have in your culture and your team today a year from now. Things move quickly in the market. And if you are operationally thinking about your continual improvement, your continual adaptation, yet you're not getting a read on, again, what we said is your most valuable asset, your team, and what their experience is in that culture, you're missing out on some of the most important opportunities to align your organization, align your initiatives, and make sure that the culture that you want to be proliferating in your organization is actually the culture that's out there.
Yes, absolutely. So that brings us to one of the ways that we would suggest structuring a survey like that. And instead of going to the annual model that most organizations do, is really think about building a pulse system. So let's get into, Penny, what's a pulse system? How does that work?
I love this idea, Sarah, and it is something that, there are multiple ways to get feedback from your team, and some of them are informal and some of them are formal. You're going to have continual one-on-ones with people on your team. You're going to have team meetings, but having this formal structure on an ongoing basis is something that's going to continually give you information that you can improve on for the employee experience, for the culture, for the way things work in your organization. So a pulse survey is a different structure to get that feedback. Just a few questions, 3 to 5 questions, monthly or quarterly. Certainly if you're starting out, I would do more often, but not more than monthly, because it can kind of get in the way and can be counterproductive at some point. But 3 to 5 questions, monthly or quarterly, and focused on one specific dimension of your business at a time. You could look for clarity on priorities and direction of the team or the organization. You could look for level of workload. You could look for trust in leadership. right levels of communications and understanding of how their work fits into the greater whole, or confidence in the overall direction of the company. Does your team even understand the overall direction of the company? And please don't underestimate the importance of this. And so, a lot of this, Sarah, I think goes back to some of the fundamentals we talked about in the last episode about metrics. And if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and take another listen to that after this to really think about the fundamentals of how data can become actionable and where you get stuck when you're looking at data points that are not actionable and don't make your business better. So this is we're presenting this in the same vein, right? So a lot of surveys, more data points, more focused data points in a way that becomes more actionable because of the timeliness that they're being delivered in.
Absolutely. And in that same vein of doing something within a reasonable amount of time, I think it brings us to our third pillar, which is, you introduced the data piece really well, Penny, there, because that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about using AI. So using AI in this process actually helps us synthesize the data that we're gathering in the right way. So I'm not going to get too much into a specific tool, but really the structure I want you to think about when you're putting together how you're actually going to use the data from these pulse surveys. There's a couple ways to think about this and how we're going to think about using AI. One of them is really understanding and analyzing the data that you're getting back from these surveys and coming up the right strategy and the right action steps as to what to do with it. AI can help you find patterns in how people are responding and might be able to look at the data so you, of course, don't get overloaded with it, but really help you um, get to the root of what people are trying to tell you in the responses that they're sending. The next one is really having a really good structure for scoring the data of from important to least important to if you get a variety of issues back within that data is AI can help you as a thought partner in where you should be focusing based on your organizational goals and what have you. And then you really want to make sure AI can be a really great partner in how you communicate back out to the teams. So when you're messaging, you've got the data, you've decided where you want to focus, and now it's time to communicate back to the organization as to what's being done with this data. AI can be a really great partner to help you tailor your messaging so that somebody in one function doesn't get a standardized, applicable to all message, but that people in different levels of the organization and people in different functions and departments can receive messaging that feels really tailored to them and feels like you've really heard and understood what they're telling you in the survey. And with
Yeah.
that, we know that our teams feeling heard will really go a long way with having them feel like you've really understood where they're coming from.
Yeah. Sarah, I hope that everyone who's listening to this gets really excited by this last point because it wraps everything up that we're talking about here in a way that I think leaders often have questions. And this is the answer to it. So, how am I using AI to my best advantage? This is AI can really be your thought partner here in getting the right read on what's going on in your organization and what you can do to continue to make your culture and your communications productive for your team. And these are real-time tools that you could be using, whether you're a Claude fan or a Copilot fan or a Chat GPT. There are lots of different camps, but find a tool that's going to be this good thought partner for you that you can have, look at some of the results of these surveys, help design these surveys and find bias in these surveys before they go out. Understand and detect patterns in what your employees are saying to you, and then help devise the right communications and course forward to make sure that you're taking in that feedback and you're using it to improve not just your team's experience and your employees' experience, but your ability to get work done that's going to make your company more profitable.
I love the approach there, Penny. It reminds us that AI isn't doing it for us, but it really is partnering with us and allowing us the space as leaders to really think things through in like we need to. And that's what I really love why I'm, a positive user of AI. It's not about letting it do everything for us, but really giving us the space to do our best work.
That's right. That's right. So, three things that we want you to take away from this information here. Annual surveys give you a snapshot of the past. You need a system that gives you a read on right now and where you're headed. And again, last week in our metrics episode, we talked about lagging indicators versus leading indicators. And you really want to lean into what are leading indicators that bring you into the future. There's limited value in those lagging indicators. So turn your surveys around. Second, pulse surveys work when they're short, rotated, and connected to someone who can really act on those results in a short period of time. So your employees actually see that their feedback is valuable and it's going somewhere, and they improve your organization as a whole. And then AI, not a replacement for your communications or your leadership, but really a thought partner here who can help up-level your insights into your information and what you're going to do with that to make your organization better. It helps you spot overload. It helps you spot patterns before it becomes employee disengagement. So Sarah, if what we talked about today sounds familiar in your business, please reach out to one of us. You can find us on our website, or you can find our individual profiles on LinkedIn. We would love for you to hit the subscribe button for our podcast. That helps us out quite a bit. We would love to talk with you because great businesses don't just happen. They operate on purpose.
Yes, they do. Thanks so much, Penny. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.